welcome. Thank you all for joining us for our August the 12th meeting of the Fort Mill Town Council. If you have a cell phone on you, please silence it so that we can give you our utmost, all of you up here first. Please silence the phone so that we can give you our undivided attention. Thank you for being with us this evening. If you would like to join us, we're going to do the Pledge of Allegiance, and then Ms. Trudy will give our invocation. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Heavenly Father, we thank you for the beautiful day you've provided for us today. We ask that you help us tonight as we do the town's business. Be with each of us as we make those decisions that are best for our community. Guide us through the next week. In Christ's name we ask it. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. All right. Members of council, you have received the minutes from our July 8th council meeting. Do you have any deletions, changes, or additions?
Move to approve is read.
Ronnie is approving, motioning that we approve the minutes. Do I have a second? All right. All those in favor, show of hands, aye. Aye. All those opposed, nay. Thank you. Public comment. Pursuant to Section 246 of the Code of Ordinances for the Town of Fort Mill, any resident may appear before council for the purpose of providing public comments on any municipal matter except personnel matters. Those who wish to speak must sign the public comment sheet prior to the start of the meeting. Do we have anyone signed in?
No, ma'am.
Okay. There are no old business items for today. We have a new business item number 1, resolution to appoint William E. Jenkins as Code Enforcement Officer. Chipper, would you like to introduce us? I was going to say, is your family outside? Oh, I love this guy. Oh,
He doesn't approve.
just when you got it quiet.
We're all family people we get.
Mayor and Council, this is William Jenkins. He is our Deputy Fire Marshal / Interim Fire Marshal at the moment, and we hired him a couple of months back from internal, as a promotion from internal.
Thank you. I would like to read this resolution to honor Mr. Jenkins. Whereas the Fort Mill Town Council, in the exercise of its general police power, is empowered to protect the health and safety of the residents of the town of Fort Mill, and whereas the Fort Mill Town Council is further authorized by Section 5-7-32 of the Code of Laws of South Carolina 1976, as amended, to appoint and commission as many code enforcement officers as may be necessary for the proper security, general welfare, and convenience of the town. Now therefore be it resolved that William E. Jenkins is hereby appointed and commissioned as a code enforcement officer of the town of Fort Mill for the purpose of providing for the proper security, general welfare, and the convenience of the town, replete with all the powers and duties conferred by law upon constables, in addition to such duties as may be imposed upon him by the governing body of this town, including the enforcement of the town's fire control regulations and the use of an ordinance summons, and with all the powers and duties conferred pursuant to the provisions of Section 5-7-32 of the Code of Laws of South Carolina 1976. As amended. Provided, however, William E. Jenkins shall not perform any custodial arrests in the exercise of his duties as a code enforcement officer. This appointment shall remain in effect only until such time as William E. Jenkins is no longer employed by the town of Fort Mill to enforce the town's fire control regulations. This is signed and sealed on this 12th day of August 2019 and has been duly adopted by the town council for the town of Fort Mill. Thank you so much. We appreciate each and everything that you do. We've seen you work, and you've been a part of our family here at the town, so very, very happy for you. You want to introduce your family?
This is my beautiful wife, Danielle. We married in December. My adopted son, Carson, and our 2-month-old Charlie, and she's eating right now.
Why don't you bring your son up and let's get a picture? How about that? Somebody have a baby? Thank you, Chris.
Might be able to bring baby up.
You can come too.
Oh, look at that baby. Oh my goodness. What's the baby's name?
Charlie here.
Charlie Ann. Oh, how beautiful. Who are you? Are you gonna get tall? Real tall or just sort of tall? Oh, yeah. Hey, baby. Sorry, I love baby toes. Thank you for joining us. We're so proud.
Great, thank you.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Is it Will or Bill? Will.
Mayor, it'd be appropriate to adopt the resolution.
It would be appropriate to adopt the resolution. Do I have a motion to adopt the resolution?
I'll make that motion,
I
please.
have a motion. Do I have a second? All those by show of hands, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed, nay. Thank you. We are adopted and ready to roll. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. Your family is precious. All right. That was our only new business item. Now we'll move to the information and discussion portion. We have item number 1, construction update for Bass Street Water Tank and Wastewater Treatment Plant. Greg Rushing.
Good evening,
Good
Council
evening.
and Mayor. My humble assistant, we have it up now. As the congressman once said, $1 billion here and $1 billion there, pretty soon you're talking real money. But the treatment plant, we've got 47 in. And the elevated tank, if you include the water line supply to it, is 3.9 million. So naturally, I assume you're curious as to what's going on, but let's get started.
Yeah, I walked up there. All I saw was
Oh,
a bunch
don't
of
go
dirt.
out there,
All I saw was a
please.
bunch of dirt.
This is the rendering we had originally. A few things have shifted a little bit, but not too much. The building in front was in phase 1. That's the solids handling building. We are putting another press in there in this phase, but the construction on that building is just for reference here. The headwork structure, again, it looks nice on this rendering, but that is not there yet. We have headworks on the right-hand side where the flat slab looks to be, some pre-treatment. And then the membranes actually go on the back side of the BNR tanks. And I'll get to the abbreviations. I know most people are not familiar with those. Existing clarifiers are there. For reference, you'll see on some other pictures. Again, you'll see the existing solids handling building from lower. The headwork structure, this is on the initial clearing, membrane area, and existing clarifiers from an actual picture there. And it looks like all the drying beds are gone by that time. The existing clarifiers were to be abandoned, but to save some money, we used those for equalization and storage. So we're going to keep them. They're just not going to be used as a clarifier anymore. The drying beds, we started on the right, worked all the way back. Not sure if you know the function, don't want to get too technical, but these are gone now. We just, sludge would flow on top, clean water out the bottom. That's where you got 98% of your smell problems during the summer, during the heat. And here we go when first construction, the existing lime silo is over there on your right, and they're getting right up next to it with the headworks. A progress picture as they dig down. Again, this has to be the lowest portion of the plant here, and then immediately it's pumped up to give some elevation head to the rest of the flow of the plant. Again, there's more steel here than I've seen in most nuclear plants. There's a lot of steel to keep these things from floating. Even the contractor has noted that, but there's a lot of reinforcing here. This is from the side, and Chris was right. That doesn't work too well, does it? On the right-hand side will be where the pumps are going. There will be 6 at build-out, but we're only going to put in 4 at this time. And the initial flow will come on the sluice on the left. And you can see that happening back here, but this is along the train where the tanks are. The B&R biological nutrient removal, MBR membrane biological reduction. And this was the initial reaching of the actual subgrade here. This is the first time they actually got down to grade. Hazen and Sawyer are our engineers, and Crowder Construction is our contractor, and I believe I put one more. They will pour this tomorrow, 114 yards, starting about 4 o'clock in the morning. Everything you see with plastic on it right there now has as much steel as the influent slab did. And they will keep going. There will be another row of tanks just toward this side, and the square portion right there closest to you is just drainage where we can drain the membranes and bring them back in front if we need to do that. Let's see, at the tank on Bass Street, just to give you some background here, there's the park and Bass Street itself. Let's see, the peach stand for reference. The existing water lines come up 21 and obviously come back down White Street. And the tank site is here. I actually thought you'd be able to see it fairly easily, but just from where they're working and from the street, the trees hide it very well. And then the tank supply lines are going around along the back side of the power easement and coming up Bass Street. Those lines are probably 80% done now, but as you'll see on the construction, we're just getting started good. Again, clearing of the site, excavation of the slab area and the initial piles, and this went very quickly. In about 2 seconds, they had the slab poured. And then the next picture, a little bit of steel on that one as well, just to account for the soil conditions. And that was poured all in one pour, and now it's backfilled completely. Each of these rings.
Was that done this week?
Pardon?
Was that done this week?
No, that was 2 weeks ago. I'll get into what they're doing this week. They're moving very quickly. Each one of these rings I call a lift, and obviously they have to form inside and out.
Right.
The inside structures, vertical structure there is just for their construction crane. They have one in the middle there. And all they do basically is pour one lift and jack the form straight up. And they will move quickly. They did the third level today. They'll do the 4th tomorrow and the 5th Wednesday. So they do move very quickly. And there's the third lift going in and the first 2, and they do look a little different for weathering. The first one's been out for a while.
Great.
Mm-hmm.
How did they get the crane out when they're through?
They will pull it out the top.
By another
They'll get another crane and come and lift it all out. They have to have a larger crane anyway, because what they're going to do is build the metal tank on the ground, and then they'll have to jack it all the way up to the top. Again, 2 lifts completed so far that you can see there, and you can see they've already jacked the forms up. For the pour they completed today, there will be 18 total lifts to the top. And again, that's you're talking about a 10-foot lift, so that'll give you an estimation of the elevation there. And they are correct. They are going to reach 1 a day while they're here. They do a 10 off or 10 on, 7 off rotation. So when they're here, they'll do a lift a day. Wiedemann and Singleton out of Rock Hill are our engineers. landmark structures are on the tank, and I keep saying this wrong. It's Garaco are doing the pipeline for us. You'll probably see them out on Highway 21. They're going to bore under 21 here very soon, and that will give us our. They've already tied in at the end of Bass Street, and that's the 10-cent tour. If you want to go out, let me know, but just don't go out without complete equipment, because
Walking there today.
even the safety officers, and they do have safety officers for both contractors, we're very pleased with that. They will ask you to leave.
Well, these both are construction sites, so
Yes.
we would not want anyone to wander in, no matter how interesting they may seem. It's not safe for pedestrians, so please do not attempt to get close or walk upon these particular sites. Greg, do you have a finish date for the water tank and one for the treatment facility, a ballpark?
Ballpark. I believe the contract amount for the tank was 18 months. They'll beat that significantly
So we're ahead of
if they
schedule.
keep moving.
Okay,
My guess is 12 months. So this time next year, you probably will have an operational tank.
that'd be great.
Again, the treatment plant is a little behind on the total time, but since they've been there, they're catching up, and they'll pass that very soon.
Okay,
But we have about 2.5 years, I think, on that contract, and again, they'll probably beat that by a few months,
okay, great.
barring weather.
I think it's important to note also for those that are interested, the site for that water tank was donated to the town.
And I have a question, please. I had a concern about a resident that lives on Bass Street, excuse me, and it had to do with flooding in his yard at one of the times when we had some heavy downpours. Well, and he could not tell me whether or not it was due to the fact of the trucks going up and down the road. Do you foresee that happening, or have you seen that more than once?
What we're doing is not affecting the road at all. We laid the pipeline along on the shoulder,
Okay.
and more or less the silt fence will channelize the flow as long as the silt fence is up. That may be a problem. The rain we got was well over a 100-year storm, or a 1% storm is what they're wanting to call it now. So not much that we could do could have
Okay.
stopped that. We did channelize it a little bit, and we've addressed that a great deal with them. And they should be out doing more landscaping now around the silt fence to try to improve it until they can actually remove the silt fence.
Well, he has not called me back, so I assume that everything's been going
If you
pretty
ride
well.
too slowly down Bass Street, you'll get stopped and talked to on a repeated, and we don't mind at all.
Okay,
So we've actually got a temporary patch on the road cut at the head of Bass Street
okay, okay.
at their request. That
Okay.
happened very easily.
All right, thank you.
Wonderful.
And I have one question. When are they gonna put the parking area back?
We've asked for that, but again, the road cut was a temporary pavement. They'll after the pressure test and everything is assured that the water line's okay, they'll come back and finish paving both areas.
And to expand on Mayor Savage's question, you do a really good job, and we appreciate when we get these updates on the capital projects. But I would request that on any of them, we start adding a timeline and a budget to each of them, because I can assure you, council's going to ask. That's two important things for us on every project.
And
So
we get a
being able to
percentage.
see-
We have a monthly meeting, especially on the treatment plant, that gives us budget % complete versus schedule % complete. That's
Correct.
very
Yeah,
easy to provide you.
Yeah, if we can start having that in any of ours, just being able to see a timeline. So, to your point, we're 18 months on the water tank, to not know exactly when it started. It was a June 1st start, to know it's 18 months after that. Just to be able to refresh it would be great.
Right.
Thank you.
Any further questions? Hearing none, thank you so much, Greg. Information and discussion item number 2, update of facade improvement grant for 229 Main Street in downtown Fort Mill. Penelope, hi.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Miss Deborah Whitsitt from Olive's Mud Puddle had applied for a facade grant, and you guys approved it back in July 10th of 2018. Her improvements were for exterior. There was a new projecting sign, a new awning, and also she painted the front facade, so you see a before and after picture. She did receive the maximum grant of $5,000, and there's still funds available for anybody that is interested, but the time is running out soon because it's part of the budget, so we do have some money available for the end of this fiscal year. But this is a great project that they were able to use the $5,000 and make a difference for the downtown area.
It's such a beautiful improvement. Debbie does a great job. If you haven't been to the Mud Puddle, they have great coffee, great art classes, a lot of fun events. They have karaoke and a lot of fun things. I just think that's been a very, very nice addition to our Main Street. Any questions for Penelope?
I'd like to make a comment. I think all these facade improvements have really been nice, particularly the one on the corner up there.
And we appreciate the before and after.
Yes.
It makes a big difference to be able to actually see that. So thank
Huge
you.
difference. Thank you.
Thank
Any
you.
further questions? Thank you, Penelope. All right, information discussion item number 3. Update on recycling in Fort Mill, Brian Harris. Anybody with muscles like that, I could see.
Good afternoon, Mayor and members of council. I'm here to discuss the recycling program changes that are about to approach us. Over the past few months, Davey and I have been working with Waste Pro and York County Public Works as far as transporting our recyclable materials to their new MRF in York County. So with that being said, what I'm about to talk about are the changes that would come with that. Due to the changes in the recycling industry, fewer items are being accepted for recycling. What items can be placed in mixed recycling carts? Mixed paper, chipboard, cardboard, magazines, office paper, steel cans and aluminum cans, pans and foil, only number 1 and number 2 plastics that are in the shape of bottles, jugs, and jars, and the lids must be on. All items must be clean with no food or greasy residue. What items cannot be placed in the mixed recycling carts? Trash of any kind. If in doubt, place items in your trash cart. Plastic bags of any kind, place items loose in recycling cart. Glass, shredded paper, anything with food or grease residue, containers made of wax-coated paper, juice, milk, and broth cartons, etc. Propane tanks, plastics other than number 1 and number 2 that are the shape of bottles, jugs, and jars, no other shapes or numbers of plastic. No food trays, berry containers, plastic cups, etc. No styrofoam. This flyer here, we have these posted on the website, and you can also see them posted at Town Hall. And we've been working with Chris Sardelli here to get that stuff posted on the website. What can I do with items that cannot be placed in the mixed recycling cart? Many items that used to be accepted in the mixed recycling can still be recycled at one of the York County collection and recycling centers. Fort Mill area centers are Baxter Center, which is a full service center, and Fort Mill East, which is a limited service center. Also accepted at recycling centers, clear, brown, and green glass and shredded paper. You will not be able to put the glass inside the carts from this point forward, but if you still would like to recycle those items, you can take them to the recycling centers. Special materials must be taken to the York County landfill at 289 Public Works Road, York, South Carolina. Large amounts of construction debris, more than half a volume of a 4x8 pickup truck bed trailer. Yard debris and oversized tires. Household hazardous materials are collected during designated events only and are not accepted at collection and recycling centers or the landfill. y'all see some of these items up here that you think wouldn't be recyclable, but you'll be amazed at the stuff we find when we have our recycling days. How can I remember what I can place in my recycling cart? The Public Works Department has ordered stickers that can be placed on your recycling cart lid to remind you what can and cannot go into your cart. If your neighborhood has a homeowners association, we have contacted them to distribute the stickers for residents to place on the carts. If your neighborhood does not have an HOA, Public Works personnel will be working to place the stickers on the carts when the carts are at the curb for collection day. What are the consequences of non-compliance? All the loads that we will be taking to York County, they grade every load that comes in the door. Loads are graded on an A, B, and C level. If there are too many items in the truckload of recycling that goes to York County's materials recovery facility, the entire load will be rejected and sent to a transfer station and then to a landfill. The cost of taking the recyclable materials to a MRF is $35 a ton. And if that load is rejected and has to go to a transfer station, the cost is $86 per ton. The otherwise recyclable materials will go to the landfill. So what you see on the left is a picture of what the report card will look like when our trucks go to well, it won't be our trucks, it'll be Waste Pro's trucks, go into the MRF. When the material is dumped, they have someone to grade the load that comes in. And that's all I have. If you guys have any questions, feel free to ask.
That
Yes, sir.
first slide, you got chipboard.
Mhm.
Now, that's gonna confuse a lot of people as far as what, putting chipboard in the recycle bin.
Yes, sir.
I mean, you want us to put chipboard in the recycle?
Obviously, there's two definitions of chipboard.
Yeah.
You wanna, I
Yeah.
think what you're referring to is the
The construction
plywoody-
material.
Yeah, construction material. What are you referring to with the chipboard on here?
Like, it's a, how can I describe it?
Like our Amazon boxes, can those be recycled or not?
Yes. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
But pizza boxes are not.
Cannot.
That's what I was gonna say, I don't think.
No, they're greasy.
They never have
They've
it.
They're
never
greasy,
been
they
able
cannot,
to do
no,
that.
ma'am.
Yeah.
All right.
Greasy pizza, never.
You had other questions?
Oh, lots. So what we've been doing, and I'm big on recycling, I mean, I went to App State, so I'm a boom and earthy. So trying to get families to do this. Leaving the lids on the water bottles and all of that, you said it has to keep the lids on it, they can't be off?
That's what they're asking,
That's
that
what they're
they're,
asking.
that they are left on the bottles, yes, ma'am.
Okay,
Which is different from what
It
you
is
said.
different.
all right.
Now, I don't think they're gonna reject the load
Yeah,
because they're not on there, but that's what they're asking.
okay,
I'm sorry, they,
you're fine.
my understanding of of this process, they found a way to recycle those caps. And so, in the process, you leave the cap on, as it runs through their facility, the caps are cut off and they float on top of the water and everything else is heavy, so they can kind of separate those easier and recycle those. So that's why they would like to keep caps on the lid.
Okay.
That was my take on it.
They both make it in the recycling, just didn't know that's right together. And then on there, so the other thing that I've heard a ton of is like K-cups and yogurt cups. So those are no-goes, right?
No go.
No-goes anymore
No-go.
in the trash we go.
Right.
All right. On the list of things, as you were talking about yard debris, I know we do yard debris pickup. But yet we're encouraging in here to be able to take to your.
Yeah, don't put it in your.
Don't put it in your recycle bin.
Yeah, we will still do
Right.
yard debris as a
The
separate
same way,
pile.
yes, ma'am.
Yeah, that doesn't change.
No, ma'am.
Perfect. All right. And one more, well, keep going. I've got two more questions related to this, but different, so.
I think one of the things that's important to note is these changes were not changes that we sought. These changes are being forced upon everyone because of the changes in the industry itself across the country. And I do see some very positive programmatic approaches to no straws, no plastic bags, and that type thing. I've also entered into discussions with the county council and TKK in regards to seeking out what would it take for the county, TKK, and Fort Mill to get an incinerator. Those have improved vastly over the years. They were not a great choice many years ago because of just operation itself and air issues, but they are quite doable now. I don't know if you've ever been to the MRF, the Materials Center in York. It's pretty scary, in my opinion, to think that we generate that much waste and that piece of land looks the way that it does. We all go to the recycle centers here. We all take our things there. Those of us that don't dump them on the side of Nims Lake Road. But, you know, nonetheless, I think it's a conscious effort that we all should have to be less wasteful. Producing less is an answer. It truly is. It is a helpful answer. So we don't have to decide which bin to put it in. It's better if we just don't create the waste in the first place. Your further questions?
So further questions, and you may or may not know the answer. Do we have any kind of an update on the recycling center that's being built off the bypass? Do you guys happen to know when it's scheduled for completion?
I do not.
I don't know that
They're
they have a
moving along,
completion
from what
date,
I've
but
seen.
they have really started moving along.
If we can just kind of check, and you'll hear, I've got a couple of questions like that we know things are happening in Fort Mill, and while they're not the town doing it, we're directly impacted by it.
Right.
So I'd love an update on that. And then the second is, you guys have probably seen in various articles on social media and so forth, TKK has been doing a recycling program for benches. I know we have in our budget right now benches for Walter Elijah Park. I would love to see the town put an effort into recycling the bags and getting these benches. We're sitting around, we're enjoying Main Street, we're doing other things. I'd love for us to join that bandwagon and see if we can do that project as something, just again, to try to help around here. Mayor and I have talked numerous times about reducing plastic bags and trying to come up with solutions. And rather than legislating it, I think if we can come up with a solution to encourage recycling the bags, as well as sitting around and enjoying a conversation with your neighbor or your friend.
Right.
Love for us to try to kick that off. So, and I know we've got a team that can certainly do it, and I'm sure TKK would be more than willing to give us some information.
Yes, ma'am, we'll look into it.
That'd be awesome. Thank
All
you.
right, thank you.
Before you leave,
Yes,
I'd
ma'am.
like to thank you. You've done such a wonderful job
Thank
in keeping our community clean. The flowers at the foot of Main look great. I'm very happy with the improvements and the feel of our downtown, and it is a lot dependent on you and the good work that you and your folks do. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Can I get back to my question? What is chipboard?
I will have to get back to you.
I mean, I'm confused.
Yes.
You know, and just like the other one that says cardboard, what size cardboard, what kind of cardboard? Because if you get a TV in a box and they stick that box in your recycle.
I'm thinking their definition of chipboard is likely to be the styrofoam that's in the pieces that looks all,
I'll check on it and get back with you.
well, not only
Well, just
that,
like-
but the bigger hunks
Yeah,
of it.
well, Gwen, just like the cardboard, I mean, what size cardboard can you put in your recycle bin?
When you
Yeah.
cut it up.
Yeah, if it'll fit, yeah, right, just shred it.
You can break it down.
Yeah, because I always took my big TV boxes and put it beside the trash can, and y'all pick, of course you pick them up, but I mean, I couldn't see putting those big TV boxes, refrigerator boxes, trying to cut them up and put them in a recycle bin.
All right.
How often you buy TVs?
Pretty often.
Okay, just wondered.
I think it's important to note too, I saw something today, if you're redoing your yard, fall is thankfully coming, and you're pulling up hedges and things to put at the side of the road, be sure that you have them in the right lengths and that they're separated from other debris that you're hoping the town will pick up. It's tough on our guys to get on and off the trucks and separate by hand. When we purchase equipment that helps us do our work more expediently, we should be able to use it. So we want to do a good job, and you guys do a great job, so thank you.
Bless that driver that drives through Massey, because it's no different than with the fire trucks. I had fire truck and garbage truck coming through on Friday, and it is a maze, so, and amazing, they make it through there, so, thank you.
Thank you, Brian.
Mayor, I think we have a quick answer on the chipboard. It's compressed paper. So it's, You find some of this in the boxes like you're speaking, not so much the
The
styrofoam, but
separation
it's
inside the box.
separation, cardboard in
Okay.
there. And also, I think one of the bigger changes in this program, and we get more calls about than any other, is glass. And in this new program with us, you cannot put glass in the mixed container that we're providing everyone, or everyone has, but they can still take their recycled glass to one of the 2 convenience centers. And glass, one of the questions is, why is glass being separated that way? Because when it breaks down, it turns into basically sandpaper, and sandpaper and metal don't go together well. So it does a lot of damage to the moving metal parts, not only in recycling trucks, but also in the materials facility. So that's why it's separated and it's taken to a different facility.
When does all this go into effect? I mean, is it like now, or do we have a start date, or?
We actually put it off for a few.
We have planned on starting September the 1st.
Okay.
But the stickers came in late, so we want a full month of getting the word out to everyone before we actually start taking it to the market.
Yeah, I love a huge communication.
So as soon as the stickers are on, we want everyone to start now and in preparation, because it'll actually save us money in the meantime as we're taking it to our current facility.
Sure.
So as soon as the stickers are on, they can start.
So the very corny side of me, is just for y'all to hear how corny I can be sometimes. I'm seeing Strawberry Festival, it's recycling sorting game for the kids, clean recycling. But, a game, because really that's the generation we need to get doing this. So just making a fun game out of it with some kind of a recycling trinket or something at the end. Again, it starts with the kids, teaching them.
Alrighty then. The next item on our agenda is an executive session. We have executive session item number 1, discussion of potential sale of real property. Please note that council may take action on executive session items listed on the agenda when they come back into public session, but no vote is taken in executive session. So with that, I'll entertain a motion.
Make a motion, we move into executive session?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please, by show of hands, aye. Aye. All those opposed, nay. Thank you so very much. Appreciate you being here, and we'll be right back. Okay, do I have a motion to return to regular session?
Make that motion?
Second.
All those in favor to return to regular session signify with hand and aye. Aye. All those opposed, nay. Thank you. Let the record reflect that no vote was taken in executive session. Okay, that was the last of our agenda items. Larry, would you like to share anything for the good of the whole?
Yes, I'd like to bring up something that Ronnie and I saw at Greenville. First place, Main Street in Greenville has 91 restaurants. And there's a wait, even on something like Tuesday night, there's a wait. And we were waiting on one restaurant for a seat on Saturday night. And it was Ronnie, his wife, and his son and I. And it was a lady that had 2 children. And one of them was a little girl about 6 or 7, and the other one was a little boy about 3 or 4. And that little boy, was, my mama would say, was a rounder. He was getting into everything. And there was a pole he was determined he was going to stand against. And the mama, every time she'd go get him, she'd just grin him. She never scolded him. And I walked over, as I'm prone to do, and said, you know, you've got a special place in heaven. And she said, you know, he's autistic. And I said, really? I heard how quick an autistic child get away. And they, boy, this little fellow was something. And I said, well, you got a place in heaven. She said, I've already got a place in heaven. I got 2 wonderful children.
Yeah.
I just thought how wonderful.
It is wonderful. It is.
That's it.
That's it? All right. Lisa?
So have a list of things to talk about, ask questions about. First, does anybody have an update on what is going on at the bypass in Spratt? The property, you know, the county was supposed to be making that a through, get rid of the light at Riverview. and we're going straight through. We brought it up numerous times. I know traffic's a big concern for many people. With school getting ready to start, it's gonna be a bigger concern. We know that there's a plan, but haven't heard an update recently, and just wondering if anybody has.
I did. I texted Michael Johnson, and his response, hang on. No progress. My understanding is that the property has been sold. As a result, we can't get permission to move forward. I'll double back with Patrick to see if anything has changed. Now, I mentioned this to Chris, and Chris indicated that we have given the names and contact information of the new owners of the property to the county previously. So, hang on, I hate it when they all run together. Hoping to bid this winter. Final plans have been submitted to the South Carolina Department of Transportation for review. Right-of-way has been acquired, hoping to bid this winter. And that was from Patrick Hamilton after we came in here tonight. I think it's important to note that this is already a bottleneck in that location, and as the new school will be opening, I don't see it alleviating any of the traffic at the bottleneck. So I would like for everyone to be absolutely certain that you help our community, our constituents understand it's not our project. We don't do roads. It's not our project. I noticed with the news story about the park that somebody that I think you know had asked about, why don't we just take that money and repave roads? The town doesn't do roads.
Except the ones we own.
Except the ones we own. So I think it's important that we help people understand that. I think because they live here, it's Fort Mill, they think we can go about making those corrective actions made that are needed, but not when it's not within our jurisdiction or our authority to do so. So I think that's really important. And in this case, this is a county project. It was a pennies project related to the bypass. And hopefully if they bid it out, Chris helped me a little bit. I think when they bid out things, that doesn't mean it's gonna happen that next weekend. It's likely it probably won't start till the spring if they get it bidded.
There'd be a bid process, a contract process, and then they'd have to go through a process to get under construction, so it would be sometime between.
Yeah, I think it'll be 2020 before they ever get started.
I think, Lisa, that it does not do away with that traffic light. What it does is makes a bypass the main road instead of a bypass going into Spratt. Spratt will go into the bypass.
Yeah, the Spratt will have a stop light. The other will be free flow.
Yeah, and as I was describing to my daughter this morning, and when we were driving through there, the Spratt people, the majority of them are turning right so they can turn right on red and traffic continues to flow, whereas currently on the bypass, it's stopping, so a bottleneck. So just want to be sure that stays front and center. Again, it's kind of like we talked
It's
about.
faster than 21.
Sir?
That intersection's faster than 21.
Okay.
Believe me, I can do both.
Yeah, we cut all the back roads trying to get there. Well, and one of the big things, especially with Riverview, once school gets in session and all the sports going on, even at 6:30 at night, that's backed up, and you know you're going through Brickyard Road and coming back, and yeah, that's not the main road either. So trying to keep people off of it. And I think the quicker we can get this done, the better. So, County Council, if you're listening, please help. Second, Gwen alluded to the post, one of the newspaper articles talked about Walter Elijah Park and the improvements that we're making. Look forward to seeing the town's version of that communication plan put out there so people can really see what all is going to go on. But I know several people had commented about the need for restrooms, so I think it's important that they understand we do have restrooms as part of this project. But one concern I had, Davey, if you'll look, somebody commented about playground equipment being broken.
I saw
or not
that
working.
too. I saw that too.
So if you'll have somebody inspect that immediately, we want to be sure that that is very safe. So if you'll just take a look at that. And
I
then
didn't s-
hopefully
I
we'll
didn't
have an
see
update
that.
soon
It
on the
was one of the-
communications for this.
Yeah, one of the comments did allude to that, and I know I've seen, Public Works out there, the Parks and
Yeah.
Rec out there on a regular basis, but I did see that the playground equipment was broken.
Yeah,
So I don't know what they were alluding to. They weren't specific.
right,
We can check it out. Parks and Rec does an annual,
yeah.
check, and we'll send them out there tomorrow to look at it.
Thank you.
Perfect, thank you. And status of Bank Street, I know we've got a paving project going on and that the weather has been not our friend on that. Do we have any updates of where we stand on the paving?
3 weeks ago, they went in to do the compaction test for the parking lot. Failed right from the get-go. So they backed out, let it dry, and
Yes, sir.
as of last week, I had not heard when they were going to do another test. I think it should be in the next, could have happened Friday, and I'm not certain about it, but I know they were waiting for a dry spell, and we've had that, so I expect that at any time.
It's supposed to rain Wednesday,
Yeah.
so.
So we'll reach out to them tomorrow. I'll try to find out, because they're wanting, the indication we're getting from them is they want to move on it as quick as we want them to move on it.
Well, they've had no more rain than the guy down here on the corner of
Amen.
Steel
Steel.
Street, and they're putting gravel down.
Yeah, and that's, I think, what we were running to in this, for our spot is they had to grade down, and it's a bowl, so everything's there and it sits, and it was over the spring, we had all the rains, it's not just the top level of soil that's wet, it's still wet down below it, and, which is kind of strange, because I can't stick a probe in the ground right now, but, we'll reach out to them tomorrow, and try to get it in as quickly as possible.
Yeah, because we anticipated this project long ago, so, yeah, I'd love some status of that. The other thing, I know that there was a Parks and Rec survey that went out to a lot of the people involved with Parks and Rec and have participated in that. Just when can we anticipate the results of that?
I got the results, late last week. I'll forward those to you.
Okay.
And let you look at them. I've reviewed them. I have not had a chance to sit down with, Brown Simpson to discuss the findings on it, but we will.
Okay, yeah, I'd be interested.
And who were those sent to, David?
Now, that was sent out to everyone that, took part in the sports over the last, 12 months.
Okay.
I think we had
To participate.
200, and it was over 200.
Okay,
people
just
took
curious.
part in it, so we got
Just
some good
curious.
feedback from it.
Okay.
Will that feedback be taken into account for our budget prep as we prepare for the budget?
It will.
Okay.
And, yeah, I think, the majority of the feedback, we'll break it down even further, but, communication was a big concern, so we're gonna put together a plan for that. And then when it comes down to field space and practice facilities and things like that, so. But I'll send it out to you. It's good, it's interesting reading, gives us some good insight as to what the parents are thinking.
I'm grateful we did the survey.
Yeah.
That's a step forward. Now, if we can make some good use of it, that will be even better.
This is the first step. We want to, we've tried it, we got some good information, now we want to tweak it and get better, more detailed information. I think that's the challenge.
Okay.
And more strategic too.
Yeah.
I'm almost done, I promise. Update on Main Street, I know when you and I talked the other day, South Carolina DOT was involved with that. Can you give us an update?
Yes, the DOT has added, they've done their updates to Main Street. They've added new signage to the crosswalks, they've added directional arrows. That's when you approach the crosswalk. They've got brand new directional arrows on the road. They've added 24-inch white lines on each side of the sidewalk to make it a little more visible. And they've removed the parking spaces. It looked like two
Right in
when
front
I
of
rode it
Hobo's.
up, but it was supposed to be one space in front of Hobo's restaurant. I believe they took away two spaces.
They did, yeah, I'm pretty
So-
sure it was two.
That should make it a more visible crosswalk. We still have some, I think, some opportunities on our end to make it even more visible.
Were those, the signs, the tall signs, were they already up there, or did they put those up there this past week?
Those are new, that's new signage. They
Those-
had previous signage where they were smaller in
Okay.
size and they were white and red
Okay.
as compared to the
Neon yellow.
neon yellow.
Well, going up Main Street, the one on the right, of course, is hidden in the trees.
And we're gonna address that.
Okay.
That's how we can help with the project.
And I got a question about our wayfinder signs. I think personally, if I had been choosing signs, those would be the last signs I would choose. They're noticeable, they're there to protect health and safety, but they're not the prettiest. I mean, this, and yellow. But will the wayfinder signs take the place of that? Or would it be in addition to that? I don't want to have a junky corner either, is what I'm after.
DOT's gonna have their standard signs for, their purposes. Generally speaking, ours aren't going to replace any of DOT's standard signs. There may be some opportunities where, you see green directional signs for public golf course this way. So you might be able to get to remove some of those, but typically a safety sign like that's not gonna get removed for the wayfinding program.
Okay. Pick another battle. It's not, I mean, I'd rather us run lights in the pavement than have sight line all out there, but hey, I'm just one. Sorry.
We'd love an update on the Wayfinder project too, since it was brought up.
That
Do you have one?
That money is being budgeted, or being included in next year's budget,
Perfect.
and so we'll present that to you.
Okay. Which was not my last question.
Liar.
I wasn't gonna ask about Wayfinder, you brought it up. Just, and more anything, just back to school. School starts back here on Monday, and my understanding is, I haven't seen it, because I'm a day at a time right now, but the altered start times, evidently there's some shifts in some of the times and so forth. So just so everybody's aware, schedules will be changing, kids will be going and running the streets and buses running. Everybody put their patience hat on next coming weeks.
First week's always hard. Always hard.
I do lie. So I have one, I do lie, yes. Politicians lie, yes. No, there was, just interesting fact. So in Massey, we all have Facebook pages, right? So there's a Massey Facebook page, and one of the neighbors' kids decided to do a summer project, which to me, it was one of these that was a good way of using it. But a way to get to know the people in Massey a little bit better. And just ask 3 questions. What state or country were you born in? Second one is, where did you move from when you moved to Massey? And then the third was, how many states did you live in? What was very interesting was, what country were you born, what state or country were you born in? Top states, New York 21, no surprise, North Carolina 8. But in addition to that, there's 14 countries that were represented where people were born and living in Massey right now. So South Korea, India, Germany, Canada, Zimbabwe, Brazil, South Africa, New Zealand, Ecuador, Dominican, Bolivia, Philippines, Cuba, and Poland, which I thought was really interesting that, we know this is a diverse environment and we have people from all over, but that many countries represented in one neighborhood was pretty cool. Most states moved from, top state was North Carolina, second was South Carolina. So people already living close by and somewhat local before they moved in there. And then how many states people lived in, the average was 3, but the most moves was 12. So I appreciate the Levasseur family for, getting us thinking and getting to know our neighbors a little bit more. We all are different and unique and come from different backgrounds. And it's neat to get to meet the neighbors in that way, so.
By the way, when you made assumption we all have Facebook pages, you're incorrect.
I did not make an assumption that
Well, I
everybody
thought you
had.
said that.
No, I don't make that assumption at all. Trust me, I know you have a flip phone still, so we're good.
No, he's got Android. He upgraded.
He upgraded, huh?
No.
But thank y'all for letting me talk a little bit. There's several things going on, it's that time of year for planning, so.
Cool. True to Bing?
Could I go last?
Sure. Chris?
I went to the Greenway and ate breakfast this morning. It's a
I
pretty
saw
good
that.
spread. For $8, I got pancakes, scrambled eggs, bacon, and sweet tea. So I figured I would take advantage of that before school started because I'll be carting kids around. But you get out there for a breakfast, it's pretty good. So,
Cool.
Yeah, that's That's all I had.
Ronnie?
I'm good.
Trudy, I'll go before you since you want to be last. I too had that school will be starting for everyone to please be very patient and careful with their travel. Like to comment that the Pucker Butts hot pepper eating contest apparently was a big hit and a lot of people enjoyed it, and I think that's great. I look forward to future events like that. I mentioned in a recent interview that Fort Mill has a lot on Main Street that most people don't even know about. Hanauer bow ties are known all over the world. The Drum and Bugle Corps has been international champions. The hottest pepper in the world is grown and sold at Pucker Butts. I think it's important to note down at Southern Sugar, they have a new chef and a new menu, and oh boy, it's pretty incredible. Very interesting shift. The chef worked in Boston, Charleston, and Savannah, and he can make a mean crab cake and some pimento cheese grits that are just amazing. Kind of a jovial.
You got mine.
Hey, I'm all over
Crab
that.
cakes.
So, you know, I think it's important that we thank the people that invest in our community and work hard to make it an interesting and good place. No, but I know
It's all
Pucker
over.
Butts is all over. They're in
The
everything.
Carolina Reaper is
Carolina
everywhere.
Reapers.
Yeah. I
They
was-
use it at Taco Bell.
I was in St. Louis in a little hole-in-the-wall place, and the people next to me, I ate Mexican everywhere I go. The guy next to me was talking about Carolina Reaper and a little small town.
The last thing is, as we are approaching our budget cycle, my understanding, Davey, is that we will not get a notebook prior to Saturday. Is that correct?
Right now, we are trying to finalize all of the numbers, put together, to get you a good budget to look at, to discuss, to change somewhat if you'd like to add some things, deduct some things. But right now, the timeline we're on, it looks like it may be Saturday before you get it.
Okay. I just need to understand the process because it's a little bit different. In the past, we've gotten a notebook in advance because those of us, a lot of us have to find time to read through and be able to discuss anything. So it's going to be a little bit complex to show up and read and discuss. And I know you'll guide us through it, but I do think it's important that some point we've got to change the order and we have to have a plan and then a budget, not the reverse. We've got to do that. No one should have a budget without a plan. And 4 years now, not to your discredit, but 4 years I've been asking for a strategic plan. 4 years. We don't have one. And I gave the Rock Hill one to our staff and said, white it out. Fill it in. It's really simple. It looks like an elementary school plan.
But targeted.
It was very targeted and very easy to understand. We've got to take that step. Otherwise, I made a comment 2 years ago, I wouldn't vote on another budget if we didn't have a plan. It's wrong for this council to vote on a budget without a plan. It's wrong. So we really have to fix that. I might not be here after December. It'd be somebody else's issue to take on, but I sincerely hope we see the value in council coming to agreement on what our plan needs to be and sharing that so that we can actually put our arms around the plan. I do. So you might have noted tonight that I asked each of you when you voted to hold your hand up. I think that's pretty important. I've noticed it at several other council meetings. Sometimes it's hard to hear who says what, and I think sometimes people might not vote. I think Virginia is tasked by law with capturing how we vote, and I think to make it easier for her, we will start showing our hand. I've also made it an invitation to stand with us for the Pledge of Allegiance and our invocation. I am receptive to making the changes that are needed to ensure that we're doing the work we need to do. But I think collectively, we need to get on the same rock. We do.
Kind of tag teaming on the budget issue, you know, I've asked for a while that if we're gonna be given a presentation, and again, Greg
Oh.
typically does a phenomenal job, you know, what we had with the recycling, you know, that was great, to have it in the PowerPoints that, I mean, in our agenda, to where we can look at it, because, again, it may keep me from asking 100 questions during the meeting.
Put it
I'm
on
able
that
to
thing.
digest it. Yeah, plus, as part of our agenda, making sure that the constituents are able to see it when they go to reference, or we go to reference it, being able to go back and find it, but being able to look at it ahead of time. I'm getting older, we're all getting older, trying to see the screens all the time isn't necessarily the easiest thing. It'd just be great if we can get in that routine of making sure we have the information ahead of time, because it's.
This was good.
Yeah,
This was good, and Brian's was good.
yeah.
To be able to put it in a format that gets closer to, here's a proposal, here's what it costs, here's when it might start, here's where it might finish, here's who it benefits, and here's what'll happen if we don't. If we can get some consistency, it makes our jobs way easier, way easier, which will certainly make your life easier.
Okay,
'Cause
we'll
we're-
take care of that.
And in regards to the budget, you know, let's reach out to the other communities and see what they do. You know, other like-sized communities, we've mentioned that to you several times. Let's, you know, find communities that are similar size to us, and let's lean on them and ask their questions. You know, budget's no surprise, we do it every year, so to be able to have the information ahead of time, because you know we're gonna ask questions, you know, yeah, we're gonna want a little bit more information than what you have, and at this point, it's gonna be hard to be able to get prepared well and be efficient with everybody's time.
Are we having a meeting Saturday? Okay.
Yeah. I think in the past, and this goes back when David Hudspeth was at the helm, we pretty much as a council said we don't want a dog and pony show. You know, we don't want a Saturday where we drag in all of our employees that have worked all week long and have them present something that's already been sanitized and prepared. We want to have a leg in to understand where the room is for us to ask and what the proposals are from your perspective that are needed for the town. That's the most beneficial way for us as a council. So just take that into account. We care deeply about the employees not having to spend a Saturday on something they've already been working on, you know, for months to get it in. We don't want to do that. Poor Virginia has to be at everything, everything. She never complains either. I don't understand it. She must really talk well under that breath. I don't know, but I'm just saying, you know, it's, you guys are stretched the max. I get it. I get it. We need to get better, and to do that, we're just going to have to get more organized in how we ask, what we ask, and how we go about it. So
As you get the processes, it'll make it easier, honestly. The leadership that you bring to this town is amazing. So to be able to get processes in place for all of us, whether it's things that we ask or moving forward, great.
agreed. Trudy, you wanted to be last. You didn't know we were going to
Not
talk for 2
least.
hours, did you?
No, I didn't. But, if you'll pass those down and take one. And on a, well, it's not really a personal note, I guess it is a personal note.
New Year.
Once everybody has one of these, do you know what they are?
Carabiner.
Yeah, I
Well,
do.
Well, I didn't. I mean, I have a number of them in my house, but I really didn't know what they were called. I knew they were a little thing that you clip on something, or I've got some on my keys, but I didn't know what they were. But about 3-4 weeks ago, I guess it was, I got an email actually from the mother of a Boy Scout, and she wanted to know if I would be an official witness. And when I first read it, I'm thinking, oh my Lord, what's she want me to be official witness for? But it turns out that her son, Amon, who is 12 years old, was wanting, and he's in the Boy Scouts, and he was wanting to break the Guinness World Record for creating the longest chain of carabiners. And the record holder is from Pennsylvania, and he used 1,856 that he strung together. Now, it didn't matter what size you use. You could use any size, it's just the number. And so Armand decided he was going to shoot for 2,000. So she had asked me, and she also asked Wayne Bolden from the school board. You have to have, I guess, some kind of official title. So we went up there a couple weeks ago on a Saturday at 8 o'clock. And for those of you that know me, know morning is not my time of day. Had to be there before 8 because it started at 8. But anyway, so we went, and actually they had everything lined up, and she told me that it took about 6 months to get everything together, and all the paperwork and everything that they had to do to actually start the process. But the work that they put into it prior to that day, I can't even imagine what they had to go through. So when he started out with these little things, he had them in 10 to a bag, and they were different colors. And then that way, when he was putting them in a chain, you could count 10, 20, 30, 40, instead of having them all one color. I never would have thought about that. I probably would use all the same colors. So anyway, he had a little stool and a little cart, and he was dragging it all around. And of course, you had time for your to get a drink or go to the restroom or whatever. So in the end, when he finally got to the point that he said, nope, this is it, I can't do anymore, he ended up with the record to be broken was 1,856, and it was 250 feet long.
Wow.
And like I said, Armand wanted to at least do 200. Well, he did 2,070. And his chain was 265 feet long. Now, that is an unofficial record because they do have to fill out all the paperwork and send all the paperwork in. So she said it could be as long as 3 months or 4 months before. But that was some of my civic duty that's not necessarily town council work.
Yes, it is.
So
I always thought a carabiner was somebody that got to go on vacation.
Well, I honestly didn't know what it was. I just.
They started out in the rescue.
Did they start out in the
For
rescue?
Roads and climbing.
Okay.
They are great for anybody with girls with long hair who need ponytail holders. They're great for putting ponytail holders in them and clipping it on your pocketbook or your backpack.
Well, that's what I said. I got my keys on them. Yeah. So anyway.
I think it's important, Trudy, the work that everyone, thank you for doing that and representing us so well. The
You're
scouts have reached out to us innumerable times.
Right.
And I think somewhere along the line, we need to be better at capturing, the types of things that we're willing to do. So I thank you for doing that.
You're welcome.
Anybody else have anything else for the good of the order other than it's almost fall, it's almost football season? Go Panthers, go Gamecocks. Do I have a motion?
Make a motion, we adjourn?
Second.
I got a motion and a second. All those in favor, please raise your hand. Aye. Aye. All those opposed, nay. Thank you very much.
And you